Hello everybody and welcome back to Grounded Conversations. So recently I've come to terms with the fact that just because I want something doesn't mean that it's actually right for me or aligned for me and that it's the best thing for me. And I think it's easy to wish that everything we want in our lives will stay and will work out and will align with everything that we have planned. But actually there's things, people and situations that look good at first or feel right in the moment, but deep down something feels off and it isn't actually the best thing for us. And I know I do this especially, instead of listening to that feeling that we have deep down, it's easy to instead justify how we feel and justify for the things we want and overthink it and also hold on to it longer than we need to. So when something doesn't end up working out or somebody leaves or something just falls apart, it can feel very confusing and upsetting because it's like part of you knows it isn't right for you and isn't aligned with you. Then another part of you still wants it and still holds on to it, and that can feel quite conflicting, feeling two different things at once. It can feel like a lot. And wanting something doesn't always equal it being the right thing for you. And it can be one of the hardest things to really like something or someone and it still not be for you and it still not be the right thing to keep in your life at times. Those feelings can exist at the same time. You can want something but also recognise that this isn't the best situation for you to be in or isn't the best person for you. And it's quite strong to be able to walk away from that and to be able to recognise that. And I mean, I've noticed in myself that we don't always want what's good for us and we don't always want the best thing for us. Because when we want something that feels familiar, exciting, or brings us comfort or validation, it can be very easy to hold on to something because you like that feeling and you want that feeling of feeling validated and feeling loved, especially if it's something that you haven't necessarily received or properly let in before. When you even feel like the slightest validation or the slightest feeling of being liked, it's easy to hold on to that thing when it's not necessarily the best thing, and it's easy to make excuses for that and ignore the red flags just because it feels familiar or exciting or validating. And sometimes that can be just being given attention or seeing the potential in something or someone and seeing it and thinking and imagining the idea of what something could be rather than what it actually is and the straight facts of what it actually is and what's happening around you. And I think when you step back and you look at something more logically or from a different outlook, you realise that a lot of the things you're holding on to or were holding on to wasn't actually giving you peace and wasn't actually bringing you the fulfilment that you actually deeply want in your life. Instead, it's actually pulling you away from things that bring you your peace and leading you in a different direction that isn't actually the thing you want. It's just easy when something feels familiar or validating, it's easier to hold on to that for longer than let it go and focus on finding something that's better or waiting for something that's better. It's easy, especially if you're in a waiting season, for the first thing that comes along you accept just because you've waited for a while or it feels exciting and new or even just familiar, when actually it can take a lot to sort of step back and be like, no, this isn't God's plan for me, this isn't the best thing. I need to step back and either wait for somebody or something different, or step back and have a new perspective, a new look at things, and just trust that there's better out there than whatever you were or are settling for. And I think there's a stage in these situations where you know something isn't right, but you still hold on to it and you don't fully act on the feeling that something isn't right, and you kind of sit in an in-between stage of not fully being in the situation but not fully letting go and being out of it as well. And that can be very draining because you're constantly overthinking everything and analysing everything that's going on and telling people about it and thinking how different people feel instead of letting go of something when you know it's not right for you. And you can go back and forth in your head and with yourself about it, about, I like that this person does this, this and this, and they might seem like the perfect thing on paper, but you know deep down that it's not for you, that they're not your person. And I think if you're confused about something, it's usually a sign that it isn't aligned with you. Because if you're meant to do something, you'll know and it will bring you a sense of peace rather than make you overthink and stress about it. And I think what is actually right for you will instead bring more clarity and peace, and it will make you feel calm, and you won't be constantly questioning everything. You'll feel the opposite of that. And I think a lot of the times letting go of something isn't always about the actual situation or the actual person, because they can be a great person, but you just know they're not right for you. And it can be hard to let go of that. And it can be hard to admit to yourself, like, I'm still attracted to this thing, and I still like this thing, but I know this isn't the best place for me to be in right now, or at this point, or ever. And so I need to accept that and move away from that. And it's hard to admit that you're allowed to want something, but know it's not right for you, and sort of leave it at that and just let it go and just surrender it. And I think letting go of things is more about letting go of the version you've created in your head of it, and letting go of what you thought it could turn into and how you imagined it fitting into your life. I know for me, especially when it's like somebody I'm attracted to, it's very easy for me to like the feelings of being wanted and loved and hold on to that rather than how they're actually treating me. I can ignore red flags and make excuses for that because of the slight green flags, I guess, they're giving me. It can be easier to ignore the red flags, and instead you end up settling for less because you sort of you're looking at the situation with like rose-coloured glasses on instead of the actual thing that's happening in front of you and how you're being treated. So it's easier to settle for your feelings sometimes and things that bring you those feelings rather than actually, I deserve better than this. And I think it's often hard to let go of something when it wasn't actually that serious in reality, but in your head it was that serious. And I think that's just why it's hard to let go of things sometimes, because you think of somebody in such a way where it's like, oh, I really like this person. I feel like this could go into a relationship, or I feel like this could lead me to X, Y, Z in my life. And so you end up focusing and fixating on that rather than yourself and your own life and what's actually best for you. And so it can be very hard to let go of that because you're grieving the potential of something, not just the reality of it. And I think not everything that comes into your life is meant to stay. Sometimes things come into your life to teach you things and for other reasons, and that doesn't mean that just because something's left your life and it didn't work out that it was pointless. No matter how horrid it can feel at times, just because something or somebody's left your life doesn't mean it wasn't meant for you. For instance, like applying for jobs. You could like be applying for loads of jobs, doing loads of interviews, and it take a while before you get one. But that might just mean that God's protecting you from something, or they weren't aligned from you, and He like there's a place that suits you better. But all that experience applying and all those interviews probably built you into a different person and built up your character a bit more so that you're ready for the interview that would get you the job, and just it helps prepare you. And I think sometimes when people leave our lives, it's just God allowing certain people or certain situations to be in our life to teach us different things or to reveal things to us and to show you what you will and won't accept, and to sort of shift your standards and shift your perspective of things. But He can also remove things as protection. There's loads of different reasons. Like we don't see everybody's heart or their intentions or the entirety of the situations, and we could put something on such a high pedestal and see it as such this prize and as such this wonderful thing, when actually we don't know what they're thinking or what they're feeling towards us. And if something doesn't work out, or if you're stuck in traffic for 5 minutes, or just something isn't working out or is left or isn't going how you originally planned, maybe that's protection or something you can learn from, or you just don't know what's going on. And there's a lot going on in life and in this world that we don't understand, and I think you have to surrender that. And I'm trying at the moment to surrender a lot of things in my life that I know aren't necessarily best for me, and just giving it to God and being like, right, I know that like I'm not the best at choosing in these situations, so what do you have for me, and what do you want me to work on, what do you want me to learn from this, and using that as a stepping stone for the next situation and learning from that while I wait for the next thing to come along and things like that. Because we can see things as a loss when it's actually protection, redirection, or just not the best for you, and there's actually better out there. And I think you have to trust beyond all understanding, because we don't understand everything that's going on, we don't see everything, so you have to trust that God's got it, give it to Him, and just trust this isn't for me to worry about, it will be all sorted out. Let's just take a breath and focus on what I can be doing in this situation rather than everything else around me. Because just because you think something is right doesn't mean it actually is. It's like You know, like that picture of like a little girl holding like a single flower and just wanting a single flower, but then like behind that, or like behind God, is like a big bouquet of flowers, and that's the better outcome. And you just have to trust that there is the better outcome. And just the best advice I have for that is just trust your gut feeling and trust your intuition, and just pray about it and listen to God and listen to what He wants you to do. Because sometimes things leave our life, so we can make space for new things in our life, or learn from things and reflect on things. Like for me, I've recently stopped talking to somebody, and looking back, there was a lot of red flags I ignored and made excuses for, and just a lot of things. But after reflecting on the situation, there was a couple of things where I realised when in a relationship, even when talking to somebody, there's a few things I struggle with and a few areas I want to work on. It's like, I know that I'm not the best at communicating in relationships, or just like in general. And also when I feel like somebody likes me, I end up changing myself, or like adapting myself a bit when I'm around them to be more liked and to get more of that feeling. And I end up losing myself within that, and I end up not feeling as secure in the situation. It's like, oh, but I'm trying all these things for them to like me. That actually people end up leaving my life because I'm not secure when I'm in relationships, because it just makes me stressed, because it brings up feelings that freak me out or stress me out, and things like feeling liked and wanted when I've been in situations where I didn't feel like that. I need to let go of the fact that I can't control if people like me to an extent. I need to focus on being myself and being secure in myself before I can get into a relationship, because otherwise it just creates a bit of a weird and unhealthy dynamic. And I'm glad that I was put in a situation that wasn't actually that serious, because I wasn't in a relationship or married to the person. So I can now work on myself and work on these areas that I know I lack things in, so that when there is the right person or right situation for me, that I've done the work and I worked through it, so it's not then put on them, that I've worked with God to fix it. And there's quite a few things I want to work through. So literally, and I know like growing up especially, I've sort of like idolised relationships, and often when I get the feeling of feeling wanted and liked, I put that before God, and put that even like literally before everything. So I've literally have been doing a lot of work with God over the past like couple like week especially, and I know there's a lot of other things I want to work on as well. So I've literally said for 6 months I'm not going to even entertain anybody in a romantic way, because I know that it's not fair for me to put these people in a situation where I could also hurt them because of the things that I need to heal from. And I don't think it's fair for me to get into a relationship knowing that the way I feel at the moment ends up just bringing out some of the sides of me that I think puts a relationship I'm in a bit of an unhealthy position, because I end up relying on that person for so much, and for so much of my validation, that it's not fair to put somebody through that. And I need to work on that myself before having a relationship with somebody. And I'm glad that I was put in a situation where I realised, oh, I need to stop talking to this person, I need to stop I'm glad that I was aware of all the red flags, and that thing has ended, because now I can work on myself and prepare myself for something that is better for me and is right for me. And I think people leaving our lives isn't always dramatic, and sometimes it can be quiet, and you just slowly realise something or somebody isn't right for you, or your feelings change, or your perspective shifts over a few weeks or over time rather than overnight or in an instant. And you just reach a point where you're like, is this actually for me? I don't feel like it is. And you choose peace, even if it's uncomfortable. And you decide to leave, and you like the guy I was talking to, I was one that ended up blocking and removing him. So I was like, I don't think you want the same type of relationship as me at the moment. And I don't think you're for me. And I know there's things I need to work on. So I'm just gonna get you out my life. Was there probably a better way to handle that? Maybe. See? I'm becoming more aware, and I'm glad that I was put in the situation that I was aware of that. And I think we have to shift our mindsets as well. And instead of thinking, why didn't this work out? Think, what did this show me? What is this protecting me from? Or what is this making space for now? Because I think the main thing is, not everything you lose is a loss, because you can learn from something, you can grow through it. or like you're just being protected from something that wasn't meant for you. And not everything you want is meant to stay, because as hard as it is, letting go is sometimes the most aligned thing you can do in order to get to your purpose and to the things that are meant to stay in your life, even if it doesn't feel like it straight away. And I think even though part of me still is like, shall I just add him back again? Because I like the feelings of feeling wanted. I know that I shouldn't, because I know that's not God's plan for me. I know that's not what's best for me. And I know there's things I need to work through in order to be in the relationship I want. Because why should I be praying about my dream relationship and be with my dream person when I'm not at a point where I'm the best version of me to be put in that place? And I think it can be a bit unhealthy if you're always at a point where you're not settling and you always think that there's better out there, because it does come to a point where it's like not everything's going to be perfect, but I know that there's work for me to do, and there's insecurities that I have that when in a relationship or when even talking to somebody get brought out, and I don't like that and I want to heal from that. So I'm going to spend time to work through that and to get to a point where I'm happy with that and feel like it won't cause issues when I'm dating somebody. So I'm glad that it's been brought up. But I think you just need to look at things that when things do leave your life, when things aren't aligned for you, as hard as it can be, it's not a bad thing. It's okay to walk away from things. That's the best thing you can do for yourself sometimes. So just give yourself a chance to reflect and to not rush into things, and to just check if your heart's aligned, if it's right for you, and if it isn't, don't be scared to leave. And I think that's it for this week's episode. I'll be back in a couple of weeks with a brand new one. But yeah, just know that things will always leave your life, whether you like it or not. Just trust that's what meant for you will never leave you. And if something doesn't feel right, and if something feels off or confusing or like something's not right, then it probably isn't. And it's quite courageous to walk away from that. So yeah, that's it for this week's episode. Thank you all so much for listening, and I'll be back in 2 weeks' time with something else. Have an amazing couple of weeks, everybody, and an amazing Easter, because that is this weekend. So yeah, happy Easter, everybody. Hope you all have an amazing Easter and an amazing couple of weeks, and I will see you all very, very soon.